and how back and forth. The next map is about to be determined for this series. HeroesHearth is bringing us to Warhead Junction.
Man, what a map. If it ends on Warhead Junction, that's quite the thing. But they're continuing the trend of, if you lose, you give up map pick, and you take first pick. That's pretty much what we've seen so far. And then, I don't know if you are expecting a first pick on Warhead Junction, but it's all yours.
Warhead, we have seen recently, not much. We mentioned this last night with imported support. In the Open Division, the matches are best of 3. In the Pro League, the matches are best of 5. As a result, we almost never see the teams play here. So when it comes to our analysis of the way that they're going to approach it, I have no idea. Is Arthlon willing to play Vikings or something weird? I have no idea because I've literally never seen HeroesHearth play on Warhead Junction. So this is going to be a treat, I think, for everyone. And at the same, but that's a double-sided coin because guess what? That means imported support have zero intel as to the way they would approach this map outside of maybe scrims that they might have been able to find out.
Those double-sided coins, they're a thing. But we've seen the Illidan prioritized in the past. Brightwing we've seen banned out over the course of the last few games, and rightfully so. I think we'll probably see a similar trend here. But it all comes down to getting a couple nukes, getting a boss, finding a way to push that. We'll see if these teams kind of play around that. We've seen Zarya style. We've seen the Viking style. The Zarya style, famed by Team Liquid this past season. Roll20s run it. We've seen these kind of strategies evolve around the boss control, around the nuke control, and just kind of get that heavy push and try and end the game. And we've got some fast games as a result of that, and we've had some epic games just like we did, I think it was yesterday on Warhead Junction.
Just yesterday, that was a very back and forth one where the boss phase rose. You said there's a scary balance, and if you manage to lose control, they could just end in 5 minutes, in 20 seconds. So we'll see. I kind of want to see the Arthlon Medivh at this point. It's not the worst hero in the map, but we haven't seen him play it in a long time. There's definitely weirder approaches you can do. But there's only one way to find out. Here we go. Could be the final map of the Crucible.
HeroesHearth would love to close it out here. We've seen how much pressure the best of 7s did in our EU series earlier today. If you missed that, that was a crazy, crazy and wonderful series to watch. Unfortunately, only one winner. The Morales band that we've seen so much of, hovering here, switching back to the Tassadar. We saw some Juice Pirates earlier, didn't quite have the success they wanted. But I say the Tassadar ban, probably fair and warranted.
You got to think about McIntyre, the impact he has on the game, and the impact that he also then gives to someone like Crowan playing Vala, Greymane, whomever he ends up on. And that is a very justified ban as a result. Force Walls here in like the stalling of the Side Storm and all of that is just, it's tough. And sometimes that can change games.
No hover of Brightwing yet. No signs that even Death would be willing to play the Brightwing.
2 games that were almost turned around and one that was with ETC. They've been banning the Brightwing. Should they fear the cow? Homicidal, like legit, a boss on those mosh pits today.
HeroesHearth spending every second that they have to make this as perfect as a draft as they could possibly want. In Warhead Junction, I mean, they picked it, so they got to have something in mind. Take the Illidan off the board.
Illidan. PvE control, global with the hunt, you know, good for the bosses. Lots of strengths for that hero.
Twin Blades variant can solo a boss.
I wouldn't even be mad if it worked. Who knows?
Maybe I know something you guys don't know. Maybe you'll never know.
We'll probably never know at this rate, but Varian hasn't really been getting a lot of play, even in the instances where we see Tracer.
There's been too many good counters so far. The blinds, the polymorphs, things like that. They're putting the eggs in the basket of the ETC himself.
Those cow eggs.
The cow eggs. So HeroesHearth, we haven't seen them play Brightwing yet since the changes. They have the opportunity now. Tassadar, of course, banned out. We could see just the Rhaegar pickup to make sure that you can get on those bosses, maybe even the Greymane early. But it's up to them. They've got to have something up their sleeves. This is in the map pool. Wasn't banned out. It's their map pick over the alternative that we had that we'll have left in Game 7. This is the longest I think we've ever seen them think about a draft, to say the least.
And I appreciate that. You do not want to rush your decisions in a map of this magnitude, especially when you're trying to find those mind games on your opponent. Now, we had a first pick Abathur on Cursed Hollow. It worked out for them. Medic was let through in this series with the Tassadar ban, so they go for the Lieutenant Morales and the Vala. That's BBJ and Crowan, pretty much guaranteed unless something weird happens where you end up putting the Vala to Arthalon.
And it makes it a lot easier to dance around that boss with the Q build. Just getting the Hungering Arrow build gives you that sustain. You can move around all the little locusts that spawn out of there. So for Vala Morales, that makes a lot of sense. You can get the value out of the stem drone. I don't know if we'll see the same attempt that we saw earlier with the medevac. It was fun.
Oh, from the side of the European, yeah. That was a little
rough.
They were up 3-1, and I get it. They wanted to try to cheese their opponents, essentially, but it didn't work out, to say the least. If you didn't see the EU matches, definitely check the VOD after this, because another fantastic series. Ariel and Brightwing.
Finally, the Brightwing. I think that was expected, that it would be at least contested in terms of drafts. I didn't think it would make it through so easily, but having that global, potential double global if you opt to go stage dive.
Yeah.
But Brightwing fits extremely well in double support situations right now.
In a ton of scenarios, I would expect the stage dive with this, because you've got the stage dive with the phase shift, the Emerald Wind for ton of control, Crystal Aegis to save that target, whatever. But the Moshes have been just too valuable, so I don't know that'll be the case here. Obviously flexible in the hands of Homicidal.
I mean, you've got grenades and you've got Rain of Vengeance.
Yeah.
Makes stage dive a bit more appealing.
That is very true.
Do the interrupts alone. Choke points are hard to come by on Warhead Junction unless you're fighting right on top of the boss, which will
how much
happen.
does a grenade do if your whole team is getting moshed?
Don't get in the mosh.
You could have told them that in 2 games, and they would have failed you. So we've got Cassia as the ban here. She does do very well as the solo carry, and again, she offers the blinds, which do nicely against Vala, and she, of course, excels against auto attack damage, or having that armor. So when it comes to a solo assassin, if that's what they're expecting to be against, probably the best ban.
I haven't seen HeroesHearth run the Zarya. It would fit well into the 3-man push that we see to be pretty prominent on maps like this. We could even see a Greymane paired with this because Arthalon's kind of played over onto that Vala. You could get that. And even in Death has kind of the same thoughts as they're now hovering a Zarya pickup. Don't blame them one bit. It's not something that they've shown a lot of, but it's something that works well on this map, especially in those pushes. Morales, Vala, Zarya in a 3-man lane is extremely powerful, especially kind of in this open area where roaming between lanes is not very forgiving if you don't get a pick.
Yeah, I don't think they have played it, at least in the Kel'Thuzad patch and on, but definitely a warranted ban. They can play it, right? Not saying they will. They could. Is it worth the risk to ban? Even to Death agree it is. Okay, now we're about to find out exactly the way this game is going to play out. What tank are they looking for? HeroesHearth sometimes just do like a pretty standard front line of Johanna. Johanna sometimes is a little bit safer if you're afraid of that ETC Mosh control. We don't see a ton of Muradin or anything weird.
I really like teams on Warhead Junction because these games don't particularly go long. I want somebody that is strong early and strong often, can play around the boss, and can definitely win the team fights, the skirmishes around pretty much the second nuke phase. But right now you have that with Vala. You have that open area to kind of work in. They get Rhaegar Malthael, so they have good lane control. They've got double support, which they'll use. And they'll get their tank on the back end of this draft.
I'll say it again. Malthael and Rhaegar tend to be McIntyre's hero. We earlier saw the Malthael go to Arthalon, and it looks solid. I believe they lost that game, if I'm not mistaken. That was the Mosh Pit game. But I'm not certain, and that'll probably be the adaptation here. They have not picked their tank. We'll find that out shortly. Even in depth, pick up the Gul'dan for the consistent damage, and they do go double ranged with a single tank of ETC. Falstad as the solo laner. Global control in their favor outside of the medevac, which is pretty unlikely when you've got the Vala.
Double global, when this map first came out, was the most prominent thing. Again, you have potential triple global with the stage dive.
Being attacked by flies?
There was a bug that like flew right in my face.
He's being attacked by flies. We have that last tank pick.
I almost wonder if medevac might be a thing just to help deal with some of the global pressure. It seems unlikely. Just make up for the stim pack with Bloodlust. Trade it out. Easy solution. On
Towers of Doom, I believe it was Ishbu playing a new Barak in that series. And he really, there was a lot of moments that really felt like he was struggling to find the opportunity to use the burrow charge to get to his team. And that is one of the tanks he would play in a lot of situations, but I'm glad he didn't go for that here because, again, there were moments where it just felt like he can't go in. He can't do anything. You can throw at the Q. You can eventually chase with it. And it's not like it was a terrible game for him or anything. It's just the way ETC can control the new Barak in some cases is tough. But Tyrael ends up being that last pick here, Jay.
I like it a lot. I like it a lot simply due to the fact that on the opposing side, you have Brightwing, Gul'dan, and Falstad. You can either isolate a hero with the Horrify, you can disengage with the Mighty Gust, or you can polymorph and crowd control that. But if you can get in with the Tyrael, you have that Sanctification, allow Tormented Souls to do work. So I think that it almost felt necessary in order to get max value out of that, because that's 3 very specific abilities and or heroics that can kind of deal with the Malthael. And when Malthael doesn't have that opportunity to stay in back there and doesn't have Tormented Souls, his engagement options are limited and his team fight potential is extremely limited at that point.
And I love the dance of a Falstad flying and looking for a Gust. And then does Tyrael throw the Sync down? Does Falstad immediately Gust, right? Because if Falstad does immediately Gust and Sync denies it, well, then Falstad dies. However, sometimes you're like, well, I'm going to hold the Sync because Falstad might not Gust, and it becomes a really fun dance.
So you do it with a deep voice when you say it?
I mean, I don't know does that voice count as deep? I think it was just a weird voice. We are ready to begin our 6th map here in the Crucible as we roll into Warhead Junction. The first time we've been given the privilege of seeing how Heroes Hearth want to approach this game. Even in Death has Battery rocking on in. We've got Lutano on that Gul'dan. How we're going to be playing Falstad. We've got Frozen X on Brightwing. And Homicidal once again on the ETC, looking for those 5-mans.
I know we've got a lot of Heroes Hearth fans out there, so if you're out there in chat, put them up as you're going to see Heroes Hearth try and close it out here. BBJ going to be on the Rhaegar. Arthalon will be on the Medic this go-around. McIntyre moving back on over to that Malthael. Crowan on Vala, and of course, you will have Ishbu manning the front line on the Tyrael.
As you mentioned, that Hungering Arrow build, incredibly valuable for dealing with the boss, but it's been the most prominent build in general. Another thing to point out that you mentioned is just the fact that this map tends to go fairly quick in the grand scheme of things, and Seasoned Markman on Falstad doesn't necessarily do that well. It's a late game talent and it empowers your auto attacks the more you're able to get the impact.
Falstad, we're seeing here, when we talk about early game siege potential, the Morales Vala that is in the top lane will be almost impossible for Falstad to deal with. We saw it on Dragonshire, but those are short spots between lanes, and it got punished. And this is one where it being punished will be very difficult.
Yeah, till level 7 when he's got that boomerang. It's a struggle. So we got the winged friends up here trying to help out with that Brightwing. Bottom lane, another skirmish going down here with Battery. Taking some good pressure from Mac and BBJ, trying to be on the aggressive side here. But Lutano just has so much that he can offer. This is the infinite efficient pair, right? There's no way you win out on that long term because Rhaegar has to spend mana, whereas Ariel has infinite healing and energy be provided by the Gul'dan, who has infinite self-sustain and self-mana or giving.
Well,
but if you kill the Ariel, it really helps solve that issue, Jay. That's a great way to approach it.
You made such a wonderful point. You know what? Let's just trade supports. Go ahead and rotate on up. ETCN team getting the trade there. So one support for one support. And guess what? Both teams have two, so it doesn't really matter.
Warheads in transit as BBJ will be given this middle one for free, and the top one has to be conceded as the Morales to die as well. So it makes that first phase incredibly quick due to the double kills that happen on either side, and just an even trade. Neither of them will be cast right out the gates. Looks like BBJ might be setting his sights on the bottom lane. Ariel's still not here, so we should be able to cast that fairly safely, whereas top lane, Frozen X on Brightwing, not someone who wants to just run in willy-nilly as.
Does make it tough. Does make it tough. The grenades will always be there to interrupt you. You can be interrupted during the channel of the nuke since they do have a channel time. Crowan putting the pressure on.
Just popping off. Probably buys them some space, but
level 4. Every time you hit that Hungry Arrow, it's going to go up in damage. So hard to step into. And when Crowan gets going,
I like the rotation of Tyrael just to, like, you know, hang out. He doesn't need to soak in mid. If they step far forward, you can punish and find your team another kill. Meanwhile, you've got the Merc camps making their way down bottom, which is already weakened from the earlier nuke that we saw. There will be Merc camps timed actually really nicely to help defend in a safe position. So should be good for the defensive even in death there. But top lane will be falling slowly but surely.
It's very important that they keep control over that eye to make sure that the gank potential of Homicidal coming up, they have eyes on that so they can be as aggressive as they want. I imagine when they push this down, they'll either make a play maybe on the well, because this has no ammo, so it should be cleaned up pretty quick on that wall, or whether they'll continue to try and push. It does get a little bit more troublesome to try and push in that far, so we'll see. But they are just going to keep the threat up.
Probably denying the snap destruction of that well, which is something, like you said, they want to kill it, but if you can hold on to it, that's optimal in every case. Lutano gets the heal, the phase shift, not there in time.
Lightning Bond getting mad value there as both Rhaegar and Tyrael.
Oh,
how's scary two-man of Crowan and basically any support that can kind of support the Vala. But that situation will not happen again because we have repeating arrow at 7. And we saw, if you go back to the Tomb of the Spider Queen game, you step out on that, he will more than happily bait you in, feel comfortable, and then end your life.
I'm calling it the torpedo from now on when you do that double Q, because that's what it looks like. It just rips you in half. Now, it's really interesting because both teams have drafted like the support that has infinite sustain, right? The Ariel Gul'dan, however, is in a matchup that isn't against infinite sustain, but they're losing that lane right now, and that's kind of what's netting HeroesHearth this advantage. Since bottom lane is going to them, they have a level lead. They've gotten one additional kill, which doesn't seem like a huge deal, but the structure's going down. That's what's giving them all that XP.
Interrupted at last moment, McIntyre going to keep the pressure onto Battery, instantly dive on over. Going to be met by Lutano. They end up getting the Falstad kill up top. McIntyre trying to get the
good cleanse.
That cleanse was pretty.
Crowan went deep, and the phase shift is here, which makes Ishbu play a little bit more safe. There is a nuke down in the bottom lane that no one is looking at because they want to control as many as possible. It's 2-1, favoring the side of HeroesHearth already. Now, you could say maybe it's just smart to go get the bottom one, concede this mid one, and we'll have 3-2. That's good. But they want all the control in the world. Falstad is back, however.
He's back, and they are dangerously close to level 10. So instead of playing it safe and getting at least one nuke of the 4, they're now giving up all 4 nukes.
And that
level
is
10,
really hard.
Boss potential is a real threat.
What is Homicidal doing? He does not have level 10. He's stepping forward and just giving Crowan lots of free hits and lots of free stacks there for the Hungering Arrow.
Boss time.
Why wouldn't you? You have got the 10 advantage in just a second. It's 65 Hungering Arrow stacks right now. They begin their quest for the boss.
4 nukes. Stim drone. One
like
boss is going to help secure this. That way, the race for 10 for even and death is not going to be there.
That boss, the nuke to deny any safety of considering to attempt that, you have disposable nukes with this many in your pocket. Like, why not?
Brightwing did a really good job of getting that top lane, so getting the nuke down, getting the pressure that we saw previously. So now we've got 10 versus 10. We have Mighty Gust potentially able to get behind the enemy team, get the Gust in. Mosh Pit being held.
Yeah, I like that.
But I feel like it has to be a snap pick because so many interrupts. Vala holding hers. Morales still has grenade. Mosh Pit, they're going to get desperate. It's the ultimate playmaker.
Rain of Vengeance is the response, and the Gust has been used on the backside. Emerald Wind secluding and stalling out the McIntyre. Sanctification for Ishbu's going to be needed here. As they're battling it out, that Sanct still at the ready, but doesn't have enough mana for it, unfortunately, for Ishbu.
They've got the nuke going down. We've got a momentary pause as we will try and get that resolved as quickly as possible. But as we saw leading into that, the nuke was going down to kill the wall to allow the boss to push, but the boss was looking pretty low on health. I don't know how much more they're going to get out of that, but no mana for Sanctification. The plague of Tyrael and his mana.
It is a big issue for him, and not having Sanctification there didn't cost them a lot, but when you have that Gust Horrify, he was incredibly low, and it was a scary moment. We are sitting in a situation where that bottom boss is just about dead on the 4. I think they still have a nuke or two. They did just drop that one.
Just one going in, and speaking of going in, we're going right back into this game. The nuke goes down, the walls go down. They're pushing forward, no Gust.
Those nukes were cast in a very safe position. It will be enough to make sure that they can destroy that bottom keep, and that is a big play.
Catapults pushing for the rest of the game. These will help deter them momentarily when they do finally spawn. Do have 2 bosses on this map. It'd be quite a crazy play at this point to try and make that. You're going to have to get a pick, maybe get a second pick or force a rotation with the catapults. You don't have the global on your side for HeroesHearth, so for even in death, it's not that bad just yet. You do have catapults down, or the keep down, catapults pushing, but you still have the Falstad, you still have the Brightwing.
You can never count out how impactful that can be for your team with the global power. The boss is being started. 13 isn't here yet.
Morales is middle.
Yeah, so they're not going to be able to stop this. I don't think it'll do too much. Ishbu will see it. When Ishbu shows, they have to play passively.
Morales didn't show to minions, so they have no idea that Morales is way down there.
The power of denying vision like that.
Oh, man.
They give it up.
Threat of 13, threat of the collapse. Sanctification was not used in the previous team fight. Mosh Pit is not up. So even in death, that's a loss in the long run because you don't have the experience.
Didn't see her damage. Nuke in the center. Brightwing did in fact have control of the bottom right now. Mid nuke does get grabbed. Phase shift in to just reveal a peekaboo life.
Nuke being, the boss being checked again on the minimap as we saw Tyrael go up. But the bottom lane, BBJ and Malthael rotating, they'll control the lane. We have the 5-man push again. 2 members showing all the way at the bottom of the map. We'll see if they try and make another play as the nuke might be threatened here, but they should be able to get this without the nuke. Give them that 13 finally.
When you see this members pushing in, Rhaegar has the option to go for mercenary camps or go for the mid fort. They've realized that, you know what, they're going to get the fort and top. Guaranteed. Malthael's getting a camp himself, and Rhaegar needs to consider heading home because giving away a keep wall right now to just getting additional soak for your team seems like a pretty weird call right now for HeroesHearth.
Yeah, Brightwing wasn't here. She's the one that's holding the nuke. I thought that they might try and posture up, put the nuke down, maybe get that keep pressure, maybe get the threat here. But Tyrael, with the disengage, he gets Mighty Gust right back in. McIntyre, let's see if he has that range.
I thought he was going for it, and that would have been a risky moment for sure. But nope, Gust was used, so 1 resource down. 45 seconds on that cooldown. Does make the boss a little bit more dangerous. Ooh.
Crone's like, you're not getting that trick on me. But he's still there. They have vision on Ishbu there as the peekaboo, revealing him. HeroesHearth going to fall back. They can never stray too far away from the boss in the top because easing up that pressure, getting a little bit of damage in that top lane, will just enable that boss push. We'll have potentially another nuke coming in here soon. With double globals, 2 nukes, that's a big threat. So they'll just kind of have to idle here until they can get 16.
The double global definitely keeping them alive as Falstad went down to bottom to clear that up, but he needs to return to the fight with the flight for his team. Horrify went down. The power slide is going to be good. The mosh pit instantly interrupted by the rain of vengeance from Crowan. Crowan looking to re-engage in the fight with the stim drone, dashing forward. Big corruption going in, however, from Gul'dan, denying him the full aggro he wants to play. Bottom lane catapults are starting to pressure on the core, but it is a level advantage right now. A pretty safe disengage from both sides.
A lot of heroics used there. Falstad will be the one to Hearth. He does have the boomerangs. That should be a decent clear for him before that core takes any damage. Now we've got ourselves 4 nukes back on the board, 3 of them in the southern hemisphere, which again favors the globals. And you're basically held at least to the mid-top if you're on the side of HeroesHearth. The boss threat not as high now, but we could have ourselves a fight that could decide this game any moment.
It's do or die time. 16 isn't here, which is a big sigh of relief right now for Even in Death, but they need to make sure they don't lose 4 nukes again, and that is a dangerous dance they're playing because...
You can Sanctification the core and then drop all your nukes without being interrupted. And 4 nukes on the core, you do not want that. Mighty Gust is back up.
3 nukes on the core is bad enough. They're going to be content with that as HeroesHearth back up to get Mercenary Camp secure 16 before looking for a fight. It'll be 3-3 in the pockets of each team on those nukes.
McIntyre poking a little bit, going to delay this, see if they can get 16. Crowan and team starting to rotate down. Crowan putting out the Hungering Arrow, but eating a lot of corruption stacks in the process.
He just rolled with it. He's like, all right, I'm just going to dance in this filth.
The threat of 16 right now, too much for Even in Death. Ishbu on the backside. Homicidal greets him there on ETC. The base melt, the grenade, forces out the power slide. Tormented Souls is going to be out. The Mighty Gust is going to be there. And now all of a sudden the damage coming in. Ishbu is going to try and save the lives, but he doesn't need to as Emerald Wind is there for the disengage.
The Gust and Emerald Wind keeps Even in Death standing for now, but it doesn't look like they want to be let alone by the side of HeroesHearth. The phase shift, big heals once again, sustaining forward, but McIntyre keeps coming in from the side, looking for these opportunities. It is going to be a safe sustain right now for Even in Death. 3 nukes on both sides.
I think they wanted to potentially push that, but we're in the same situation we were before. Ishbu is lacking mana. You will not see him use much in the way of abilities here because he will need to hold this. He has Holy Ground. He has Sanctification. Homicidal.
The Gust
is not there. But the party time is going to be there. Homicidal's going to go deep. He ends up getting knocked out of the Ancestral used on the backside. But we've got ourselves a Gust, or excuse me, a boss. Only 1 nuke, however. Let's see if they try and push this all the way to core because 2 nukes in return can defend this.
Tense moment. Cleanse got Malthael out. Rain of Vengeance stopped the mosh. The boss did get picked up with that 1 nuke behind it, but as you mentioned, the 2 nukes for the defense.
2 nukes and Gust.
This core is going to be sieged, but they have resources to help defend, and they have 16. Falstad still has not selected that talent.
He doesn't, but the boss making his way here down to about 75% health. The nuke's going to go out, land right on top of the boss, do some damage. Sanctification is going to be down. They're on the core. The shield's starting to fall slowly, but they're pushing on. Falstad gets interrupted. The nuke comes down 80%. We already have ETC down 80% and falling 70%. 2 members down on Even in Death, but 2 are also down on HeroesHearth. The boss starting to fall 50% and falling. 3 members down. Malthael and Morales are on the core. The boss is there 30%. Can they do it?
This is so tense. The boss is the last hits, and HeroesHearth have taken the spot of Even in Death and qualified for the HGC Pro League in 2018 in a very close series.
Wow. Wow is all I can say. The end of that, pushing in, the aggression, having that Sanctification was used early. Malthael and Morales were all that was left at the end of that, which is a terrible sieging composition. But you had the boss, the minions were coming in, and HeroesHearth is now through the Crucible. Our first North American team in the history of the Open Division has now made it by way of winning their way in the Crucible into the Pro Division.
And so justified. This team has a dominant season in the Phase 2, winning 6 cups, only losing to a team in the first cup this season for Phase 2. I am so happy to see them thrive and do well. A much hard-fought victory, as Even in Death did not lit up that spot easy. That means HeroesHearth are officially going to be pro gamers themselves. Unfortunately, like you mentioned, there has to be a losing team, and Even in Death will fall down to the open division, making history here for HeroesHearth.
The redemption of Crowan and McIntyre. They didn't choose to be in the open division. They didn't lose their way out, but there were roster changes that happened. And a lot of people, there's been a lot of memes out there, a lot of things that have been said, but McIntyre fights his way back in. Crowan, all the love in the world from the community, finds his way back in, and deservedly so. Fantastic player. Arthlon, who we haven't seen in the pro scene in quite some time, now back in here. And the two other names that are there, the frontliner and BBJ and Ishbu being the tank, BBJ the support, called their names so many times, came up short in phase one, find themselves here in the pro division by way of HeroesHearth. Big shout out to those and all five in particular.
When we look at BBJ and Ishbu, we've been casting open division all year, and they had a dominant phase one with LFM. Different team, very different team, but they were the tank and the support. And they had a pretty devastating defeat in the semifinals of the playoffs and didn't even get the chance at the Crucible, whereas we looked at them as the most likely team to move forward. That was crushing defeat for them to finally earn that spot here after phase two at the end of the year. It's so well deserved, and I'm just so glad to see players sticking to it. Imported support, I mean, it's devastating watching them go into 2 Crucibles and get close. Play toe-to-toe with a team like Lagif, who played out of their minds yesterday. Yeah. Zuna had one of his best weekends in a long time, holding that position there for Lagif. But now we have new blood in North America and Europe, both hard-fought series. And we actually now have Ishbu on the call. Congratulations. You look elated. How do you feel, man?
It feels pretty freaking awesome, man. We're all hyped. We're all just yelling it up in our chat right there. Except for BBJ for some reason. He wasn't as hyped. That's half the reason he wasn't up here instead of me. But anyways, we're all pretty freaking hyped, and at least especially, and I know this is for BBJ, this feels pretty awesome to be our first time in HGC, so we're pretty stoked.
Let's rewind to phase one. Mental state of you and BBJ after not making it to the Crucible.
Honestly, I don't want to say crushed because we got up pretty quickly, but it was pretty heartbreaking. The whole team, honestly, was pretty heartbroken after the LFM loss. That being said, me and BBJ both kind of talked, like we had talked as a team, whatever we wanted, and me and BBJ both were kind of the mindset like, look, we want to get back into this as soon as possible. We want to make sure that by the end of next season, there's not a doubt in our minds that we will qualify for HGC. So we just put in the effort early. We put in the effort to find good teammates. That's more BBJ than me. He did all the networking. And we came back on it, and we got back on our feet as soon as possible. And I think that definitely helped us out in this season.
So what's it like at the end of phase one when you had 5 people, including yourselves, as the amateur team, and then all of a sudden BBJ does all the networking? He's like, hey, by the way, we've got ourselves Crowan, McIntyre, and Arthlon. What's the thoughts at that point going into phase two?
I mean, literally what he sent me when he asked me to join this new squad was, hey, I just got us a free ticket to HGC. Come join us. So, like, literally word for word, we saw the squad, and we were super confident that we'd be able to pull it through, and honestly, I think that showed almost every step of the way. So
you guys got out just a little bit of a struggle in Cup 1, obviously put in a new team together, but from then on out in every single Cup you guys won. You get to the playoffs, things get tough. You had that quote-unquote free ticket. You guys felt confident. We saw the sprays. We saw everything you guys were doing. But when you lose to imported support in the winners bracket finals, what's the mentality of the team after that game and through the rest of the night?
So imported, what happened there to us is imported ran, like, it's their style. They pick 1, maybe 2 drafts that they just are really practiced at. And so we saw that, and we didn't react very well the first day. Second day, though, we came back, we had a plan, we knew what we were going to draft to counter it, and I think we just came back in knowing, look, if we play our plan, we're going to win because we think we're personally, we thought we were the better team. So we were a little bit nervous when that happened, but still, I was personally having some flashbacks of the last split. My team had to carry me through at least one of those games because I was having some PTSD.
We were having those flashbacks. It was a scary moment, man, like going through those same kind of moods where it feels like you might not be making it, even in the playoffs for open division, but naturally when we look at it, you crushed through. Even in death, you said from the beginning, was your opponent of choice, partially because of server, partially because you thought they were the weaker team. But what is the confidence level versus even in death?
And third thing you missed there is partially because me and BBJ kind of wanted revenge. So, confidence level, we hadn't scrimmed even in death in like over a month or so. So we thought they were going to pull out some sort of, we didn't know if they were going to work on some sort of secret strat, and the role swaps obviously were something different to expect. That being said, based on what we've been doing, based on how we've been practicing, we had a lot of confidence in ourselves that we could pull through if we just executed our game plan, and I think that's what just showed.
Ishbu, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was finished.
I want to hear from you. Okay, Ishbu, BBJ, not household names. Who's Ishbu, and what does this mean to you?
I don't really know how to answer the question, who's Ishbu?
I want to know, where do you come from, man? Where do you come from? Because you came out on, there's a lot of people watching today and this weekend that don't know who you are.
So literally, for me, I've been around the amateur scene for about a year and a half, probably a little bit more at this point. First team I actually got picked up with, actually Justin and Buds picked me up for THC way back then. So that was my first teammate. I got kicked from that team, but still, first team.
Future revenge.
All things, I'm bros with Justin and Buds. They taught me so much about this game when I first joined. Anyways, been playing around the amateur scene, took a 6-month break mostly just to concentrate on school. I just at the end of the last split, and one of the reasons I really hated the specific Crucible scheduling for last week was I actually had my exam week during the middle of the playoffs for Open last week on LFM. But I graduated, that was my final semester, got out, and I just put full time into it this semester. I really just wanted to go for it. BBJ, I can't speak as much for him, but BBJ, he came into the scene a bit ago, but he came from League, and as you found out, he's a networking just monster. He knows a lot of people around the scene, and he just rose very quickly as one of the top supports in the Open scene. So you'd probably have to ask him for more specific details, but I can give you that much.
Congratulations, though, man. You guys have definitely earned it with what you've put in this year.
Thank you very much.
Echo the congrats, shout-outs, man. Who helped outside of just your team?
Yeah, okay, that's a long, long list. So the first one got to mention is Coach David Dylan Connell. We brought him on early, and he has been nothing but a positive force for us. He does all our drafting. He does all of our, he helps us out so much with strategy, helps so much us out for team atmosphere. You see so many teams where if one person's drafting and the rest of the team doesn't like the draft, you just kind of got this they all want to throttle his throat when they get one bad draft and lose because of that. Coach helps us so much with that just for atmosphering. Also got to give a shout out to Renal, of course, our manager. He's been with us. He was our manager for LFM. He's been with us. He's been a great emotional backbone as well. He's helped me out a couple times and helped out BBJ. He actually lived very close to BBJ. But biggest thing for him is just our scrim schedule before playoffs was one of the craziest scrim schedules I've ever seen. We had we were doing 6 hours a day versus all the top HGC teams, and it was just so much. We learned so much just going into playoffs, and that's where half of our confidence really came from. Got to throw out a shout out to the HeroesHearth guys. Obviously, we picked them up later in the season, but they've been they basically not only been our sponsors, but our biggest cheerleaders, and they've helped us a lot for, they've helped me grow a bit of a individual brand, so I got to throw that to them. And racking my brain for anyone else, I guess just family, friends supporting us, I guess at that point. But yeah, those are the main shout outs I wanted to make.
Ishbu, once again, man, congratulations on the big victory. You're a pro gamer now, and we can't wait to see more of you in the future.
Thank you very much. I look forward to showing you many more things, hopefully better than today's performance, because I think I honestly played very poorly today. Anyways, I look forward to being around here. All right, see you guys. Thank you very much.
Take care. Congratulations. That means that we have new blood. And he said that HeroesHearth, the sponsors, are his biggest cheerleaders, but I don't know. I think there might be a lot more cheerleading happening in the world right now with them moving into HGC.
Yeah, it's nice.